So, we all know that Star Wars is a world full of black and white, good versus evil, dark versus light, and so on and so forth. And if we're talking evil Star Wars characters, then there is no one more evil than the Emperor himself, right? Well, yes, true, he is very, very evil from a traditional standpoint, but the question is, do we see him do anything really disturbing? I mean, sure, he kills Jedis, and he tortures Luke Skywalker a little bit on the Death Star, but that's not truly disturbing, especially when you compare it to some of the actions that others in the galaxy have gotten up to, which we're covering today. So brace yourself, as things are going to get very dark very quickly. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 most disturbing Star Wars characters. Number 10. EV9D9. EV9D9 was a hard-working moisture vaporator mechanic, but like so many other characters on this list, 9D9 developed a love for torture. Apparently in the Star Wars galaxy, you'll never be in want of a good torturer. For 9D9, this love stemmed from a programming malfunction. This malfunction manifested in 9D9's desire to torment her fellow droids. After the malfunction, the Hutt crime syndicate bought 9D9, and they made her the chief of cyborg operations. She converted the basement of the Hutt's palace into a dark and dank torture chamber, which is very medieval, and from there, with the help of her sadistic smelting droid, 9D9 instilled terror in the Hutt's droid pool. 9D9 was so enthralled with torturing droids that she had a specialty photoreceptor fitted so that she could read droids' pain levels. Yikes. Number 9. Vayne. You may not know this character by name, but rest assured that Vayne is a snivelling little creep. Vayne lived as Darth Vader's only attendant within the Dark Lord's palace on Mustafar. As one of the few people allowed into Vader's inner sanctum, Vayne is witness to Vader's most disturbing acts, and Vayne loves every minute of it. He worships the ground that his Dark Master walks on. Early in the construction of the Mustafar palace, a band of people living on the planet attacked Vader and his guests. This is obviously a terrible move on their behalf. With his mastery of the dark side, Vader gets the upper hand. From there, he forced all the attackers to drown themselves in a nearby river of lava. How you drown yourself with lava before burning to death is anyone's guess, but he managed it somehow. Vayne rushed right out of the palace to witness this gruesome act, and as each member of the party burned alive, Vayne cackled with delight. Other duties of Vayne's included electrocuting captured rebels to ensure that his master's torture web was in order, and this was a deed that brought Vayne a sadistic pleasure, and it definitely earned him a spot on this list. Number 8. Cardu Sai Malok. Now, you may not remember Cardu Sai Malok's name, or even be able to say it. I probably have mispronounced it myself, but if you've seen A New Hope, you'll know his face. As he shows up in the background of the famous cantina scene, the camera briefly pans to a character who resembles the bloody devil with a fiendish smile on his face. And that is Malok. And if you always thought that he was up to no good, well, you'd be right. While Disney has watered down his character's backstory, in Legends, he is quite the literal devil. In Legends, Malok is known to the galaxy as the Butcher of the Montelian Sarat. He earned this nickname as an army captain on his home planet of Daveron. Malok's unit was deployed to quell a rebellion, and he captured the city of Montelian Sarat, imprisoning 700 men, women, and children. When his commanding officer ordered him to move on without the prisoners, he interpreted this as an order of execution, so he shelled the entire city and killed all 700 inhabitants. Afterwards, he fled to Mos Eisley as a wanted war criminal. Eventually, he was captured and returned to Daveron by the infamous bounty hunter Boba Fett. There, he was thrown into a pit of starving animals to be eaten alive, much to the delight of the cheering crowds. Number 7. Darth Venomous. Now, we've all heard the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, right? Well, Darth Venomous definitely knows it because he had the unfortunate pleasure of knowing the Sith Lord who trained Palpatine. In fact, they were rivals, and Venomous found himself on the losing end of that rivalry and becoming a victim of a rather disturbing fate. You see, Venomous was the secret apprentice of Darth Plagueis' master. That same master ordered him to hunt down and kill Plagueis. And so Venomous confronted him, but unfortunately for Venomous, he was bested in combat. But not content to just murder Venomous, the other Dark Lord forced this Sith Lord into a coma. Over the next several years, Venomous's body was experimented on in a quest to discover dark secrets of the Force. When Venomous's body was no longer useful, he was finally allowed to die. But he wasn't quite done with Venomous yet, as he was then resurrected over and over, killing him each time again and again, with the purpose being to kill Venomous until even his organs completely broke down. Yeah, pretty grim, right? Number 6. Bib Fortuna. Bib Fortuna was a male Twi'lek who served as Jabba the Hutt's major domo, or chief of staff. Working for Jabba the Hutt is disturbing enough for most people, but Fortuna witnessed and even organized countless executions at the whim of his master. Fortuna, more than likely, had his chief rival for Jabba's favor eaten by Jabba's Rancor. In fact, the skull that Luke Skywalker throws at the Rancor is that of Fortuna's slain rival. So yeah, you can use that on your next trivia night next time. But the really disturbing aspects of Fortuna's life take place after his master dies at the hands of rebel scum. In canon, Fortuna is shot dead by Boba Fett at the end of Season 2 of The Mandalorian, but in Legends, his story goes well beyond this untimely end. But truthfully, Fortuna may have been better off dead. You see, in Legends, Fortuna returns to Jabba's palace with the aim of taking over his former master's lucrative business. However, there are other inhabitants of the palace. These are the Bomar monks, and they had other plans for Fortuna. The monks are of a strange religious sect that lives in the cellars of Jabba's palace. Here they capture Fortuna upon his return, and here's the disturbing part, the monks removed his brain from his skull and placed it into a spider droid. Cursed forever, Fortuna now roams the palace, a disembodied brain trapped in a mechanical spider. Now that really is disturbing. Number 5. Dr. Cornelius Evazan. Would you believe that this guy was once a promising cosmetic surgeon? Obviously, things kind of went off the rails at some point in time, and it was probably when Cornelius here started practicing creative surgery on his patients. His work earned him the moniker the Mutilator of Vayne, a nickname that he more than deserved. And if his morbid surgical experiments weren't bad enough for you, there's the other matter of his slaves. At some point, he started transforming his victims into mindless cyborgs. He dubbed these creations the Decraniated. He planned to sell these zombified servants to the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate, and Cornelius made a bundle of money at the expense of his enslaved former patients. But justice finally came his way when he decided to hassle a naive farm boy on Tatooine, seeing as this particular moisture farmer was in the care of the legendary Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi. And if you've seen A New Hope, you know how this story ends. Cornelius's companion's arm is severed, and despite all of his years as a surgeon, he fails to reattach it. Number 4. Grand Moff Tarkin. In the later years of the Galactic Empire, power had become concentrated in a small cadre of men. Vader and Palpatine were at the top of the food chain, and this was in no small part due to their dark knowledge of the Force. However, a man who commanded equal parts fear and power was that of Grand Moff Tarkin, and Tarkin achieved his infamy without any ability in the Force. He was just a really bad dude. Tarkin was so respected that he could order Darth Vader around like a lapdog, and you need to be pretty intimidating to bully a Sith Lord. So how did he earn this respect? Well, Tarkin believed that the only way to achieve peace in the galaxy was through fear. People had to fear the Empire so much that they would never dare rebel, and for Tarkin this was more than an idea, it was a practice. His ideology was on full display in the Gorman massacre. Citizens of that planet gathered to protest imperial taxation, and the protesters crowded onto a landing pad to prevent Tarkin's ship from landing on the planet. Tarkin ordered his pilot to land despite the crowd, meaning that his ship crushed a huge group of protesters, killing most of them and maiming the rest. There was also the small matter of Tarkin destroying the planet of Alderaan. No real reason to do this, he just did it because he could, and because it would send a message. And by the way, in that single act, Tarkin likely killed more people than Vader and Palpatine combined. So much for Sith Lords, this guy really was the true baddie. Number 3. 000. So if Star Wars had a mirror universe, then 000 would be C-3PO's doppelganger. Like C-3PO, 000 is a protocol droid. He's well versed in the skills of translations, customs, etiquette, but unlike C-3PO, 000 is also proficient in the art of torture. In fact, 000 is so effective that Darth Vader employed him as a torturer. Vader tasked him with procuring information from Imperial officers and rebel scum alike. 000 had many former masters, but he had a nasty habit of draining them of their blood. He was so dangerous that his personality matrix was stowed on a quarantine planet for hundreds of years. A minion of Vader discovered 000 and placed his matrix in a protocol droid. From then on, he was probably the galaxy's most unassuming sadist. 000 often declined payment for his work because he enjoyed it so bloody much. And he was also crucial in Vader's hunt for his son Luke Skywalker. The droid forced a Naboo official to admit that Padme Amidala had given birth before she died. 000 then electroshocked the man to death, which wasn't actually part of the orders that he received, he just had fun doing it. But he did face some justice for his terrible deeds. In a failed attempt to kidnap Luke Skywalker, the droid had both his arms ripped off by Chewbacca, so way to go, Chewie. Number 2. Darth Vader. Unlike the Emperor, Darth Vader is a villain who we certainly see commit some pretty heinous acts. He routinely terrorizes, chokes, and murders his co-workers for a start, but during his rise to power within the Empire, Vader once organized a gathering of Imperial officials. Once they were all together, Vader murdered 5 of the officers just at random. And this wasn't an act of malice, the officers hadn't done anything wrong, he just wanted to demonstrate his power to them. Even before Vader donned his menacing cape and helmet, he proved to be a pretty messed up individual. Within hours of converting to the dark side, Vader stormed the Jedi Temple, and there he murdered dozens of Jedi who he probably knew very well. Hell, he was probably friends with most of them. And of course, he culminates this attack by cutting down a room full of children who know him and look to him for protection. Vader just straight up murders them. Now weirdly, a lot of people love Vader and believe that chucking Palpatine down an exhaust shaft was a redeeming act, but let's not forget that Darth Vader is a seriously disturbed individual, and killing his admittedly evil boss really doesn't make up for slicing up a bunch of preschoolers, now does it? And number 1, Ewoks. Now don't laugh, let me actually explain here. We all know that Ewoks were a cheap ploy on the part of George Lucas to sell a boatload of toys, but have you ever actually sat down and considered the Ewoks' actions throughout Return of the Jedi? I mean, take for instance how they dealt with Luke, Han, and Chewie when they were first captured. The Ewoks hog-tied the rebels and built a couple of bloody bonfires. It's clear that these little furry forest dwellers were planning to eat our favourite characters. That is pretty terrifying. Now also consider what happened to the hundreds of stormtroopers that the Ewoks capture after their destruction of the Death Star. Those poor bastards definitely got eaten. And there we go, my friends. Those were the 10 most disturbing Star Wars characters. I hope that you enjoyed that, or at least got something from it. And let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0. Just for the record here, it's RetroJ, but the O in there is a 0. I feel like I have to explain that a bit more because some people are still messaging me saying they can't find me on social medias. And if you want to follow me even further than that, you can go to Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, as well as my Warhammer Battle reports, and it'd be great to see you over there. Hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, my friend. Hope you're having a fantastic day, whatever it is you get up to. And just remembering that you are a massive ledge and you deserve all of the best things in life, all right? Now go out there and absolutely smash it today. I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.